year as president, we're hosting the conference here in Tokyo. It's been a magnificent sort of turnout. As everybody's been saying, we're just completely sort of delighted that Okay, is that all right? Yep. And we're particularly delighted that we've got such a good turnout from Southeast Asian scholars, and it's a wonderful opportunity for us all to meet together. So we're really, really pleased. Actually, I had sort of done a lot of work on myself to prepare for a small conference, because so many people in Europe and North America had said to me, oh no, nobody will go, it's so far, it's so hot, and everyone's here, so it's grand. Before I begin, it's my very sad duty to announce the untimely death of Susan Lee Starr, who many of you know died earlier this year. She was president of our society from 2005 to 2007, an editor of the journal, really a leading scholar in the field, and I know much loved by many, many people here. So I wonder if you could just join me in a minute's silence to mark the occasion.
スーザン・レイスター先生をしのんで黙祷を捧げたいと思います。Let's have a moment of silence. 黙祷。
Thank you very, very much for that. Okay, so to get back to the proceedings, I myself am no stranger to Japan. I was lucky enough to be a visiting professor at Ochanomizu University many years ago, actually, in Tokyo. And I came here because I was doing work on mobile phones, and I knew that mobile phones and internet use were much more advanced in this region than any of the places, the multiple places that I sort of come from. So that's why I really thought that it would be very good here in Tokyo to have a session looking at how we study, how we're thinking about information and communication technologies. And I've become very interested particularly in the kind of overlaps and crossovers and intersections between science and technology studies and media and communications and kind of cultural studies. So it's that kind of intersection that I want to explore a bit today. I'm very sorry about the heat, and apparently the air conditioning is controlled centrally. This is a great technological, feat, and nothing can be done about it. So just, keep going with the fans, and we'll sweat through it. We have a great panel of speakers here, and I'll just quickly introduce them before I give my own talk. The first speaker we have is Ju Young Jung. And she's the only genuine communication scholar, I think I could say, that we have on the panel. And she teaches at the International Christian University here in Tokyo. We will then have Christian Lecoq, who's a professor of information and communication technologies at Telecom Paris Tech. And then last but not least, as they say, Trevor Pinch, who's at Cornell, has very kindly agreed at short notice to step in because Pablo Bacalsi couldn't make it. But in fact, not only is his topic relevant, but actually it's a complete delight to have been able to invite onto the panel the next president of 4S. Trevor is now president-elect and will take over from me in a year's time. So that's great to have him on the panel as well. So I just want to begin with some reflections for about 10 minutes. I'm going to try and keep everybody to sort of time so that we've got lots of time for participation from people. I'm going to start with some kind of broad reflections, and I know that we're a very diverse group of people and a broad church, and that to say anything general about our area, people will always disagree, but that's good. It's a provocation, and I look forward to the disagreements. My own personal sense is that information and communication technologies as a kind of site of investigation has taken longer to get established in STS than some other areas like bioscience and the environment and climate change. And I think that's the case if you look through the kind of abstracts that are here today. And I was also quite struck that the people who were selecting the Rachel Carson Prize this year said that all of the books they shortlisted were actually about the life sciences. And I'm very struck by this, given that information and communication technologies, or ICTs, are the kind of backbone of all of our technological sort of systems, and are completely now embedded into our everyday lives. In fact, just before I left Britain, the day before I got on the plane, a report came out from Ofcom, which is a British sort of regulating agency, which kind of showed that we in Britain, it's a British slide I'm afraid, but we in Britain now spend almost half of our waking hours using media and communication technologies. Half of our waking hours, which I think is kind of pretty extraordinary. Now, I love these sort of slides, and I think they're great for an STS audience, because what you immediately see if you're an STSer is that new media aren't simply replacing the old, that TV is booming with a lot of new media, and that, as usual, as we know with technologies, new technologies come along and actually change the way that we were using the previous technologies, and also produce new things. And the new thing that is much commented on now is the kind of juggling or simultaneous use of many different forms of communication, particularly amongst young people. Now, of course, there are historically contingent reasons as to why some research topics are taken up in some disciplines at particular times. And television and radio were traditionally the province of media and communication technologies, which dealt with the analysis of mediated messages and very much looked at how audiences appropriate the content of mass media. And with the development of telecommunication and network computing in the 1970s and 80s, it was kind of natural for that area to expand and look at what they called new media, i.e. The internet and mobile phones. And I think while they were doing it, some of us, myself included, were still very much thinking of ICTs as technologies, because some of us had come from being interested in engineering and production and systems and things of that sort. I think this has really changed in the last decade or so, and that there are a large group of people now getting more and more interested in information and communication technologies as such. At the same time, it's interesting that many communication scholars are taking an interest in STS approaches, such as social shaping or social construction of technology. And they're doing that in order to theorise the distinctive socio-technical character of media and information technologies. I even discovered that a classic handbook on new media by Leah Levereau and Sonia Livingston is actually subtitled Social Shaping and Consequences. I was very flattered, but very interesting to kind of see the overlap. So I think it's high time that we really strengthen our links with this literature and these scholars. And of course, I think that because I think we in STS have got some very valuable insights to bring to the vast amount that's now written about the internet, Web 2.0, mobiles. I mean, certainly, and I don't know how representative The Guardian is of newspapers generally, but I mean, one is daily bombarded with double-page spreads on these technologies. This is kind of the endless topic of conversation. And the question I wanted to pose today, really, was the following. Are our STS concepts adequate to the task? Or is there something about the specificity of information and communication technologies that means that standard STS concepts and or methods aren't really adequate, that we need to do something else, that there's issues that we're not able to speak to? Now, there's an excellent chapter that I edited and actually organised in the recent Forest Handbook by Pablo Bukowski and Leah Levro on information and communication technologies. And they argue there that the distinctive domain of information technologies is that they are at once cultural material and material culture. And this is what they say. Media and information technologies are not only artefacts in the material sense, but also the means for creating, circulating and appropriating meaning. And they argue that in no other class of technology, be it bicycles, missiles, bridges, electric grids or anything else, are material form and symbolic configuration so intimately tied and mutually constituted. So they're very much emphasising the centrality of content or meaning and its constitutive articulation with materiality. And this made me wonder if this aspect of information and communication technology does present a challenge to the routine practices of STS, because we're always now stressing very much the materiality of the objects of investigation. I would argue that there still is a bit of a tendency, at least, in amongst us, our scholarship, to define devices and artefacts by their pertinent utility.